Welcome everybody to the kickoff of GitLab 11.2. So we're going to be talking today about some issues that we will be working on in the 11.2 release and shipping in the 11.2 release. So I'm really excited. And so if you haven't already, please go ahead and open the document and you can follow along with the links. For those who are chatting in the Zoom channel, I encourage you to switch over to the YouTube chat so that you can see what other folks are talking about, answer questions there. And then if you have questions yourself, you can also post them in the YouTube chat so that we have one place to answer questions. So I'm going to kick off with the plan section of GitLab. And so the first thing I wanted to mention is we are going to continue moving with epics and roadmaps. These are the two marquee features in the portfolio management area of GitLab. They are ultimate tier features. And so what we're doing is integrating milestones into epics. And the way we've chosen to do that, or designed to do that, is that we're going to automatically inherit milestone dates into a roadmap or into an epic. And so in particular, if you have an epic, you have issues that you've assigned to the epic already. And right now, what you can do is you can enter a fixed start date, a fixed end date, and that will show up in the roadmap view. So that's really good for top-down planning when you want to say at the beginning, I want to have an epic start at the first quarter of 2019 and finish by the third quarter, something like that. But when you actually start adding issues there and then scheduling those issues, you want the epic to reflect when the work is actually going to be done. And so that's bottoms-up planning. And so that's what we're going to do. And so given the issues that are assigned to an epic, the start date will automatically be inherited from the earliest start date of all the milestones, and same for the end date or finish date. And so you automatically see that in the epic and it'll automatically be reflected in the roadmap. So you can transition naturally from a top-down planning mode to a bottoms-up planning. And I know at GitLab ourselves, we use a lot of bottoms-up planning. So that should be a welcome change. Batch commenting is coming. So we've been working really hard to complete a view refactor of the merge request comment area. I'm happy to say that's been completed. That's been merged into master. And so that unblocks us to work on batch commenting. So we've already started working on that toward the end of 11.1, and we're going to continue to do that and plan to ship the first version of batch commenting in 11.2. And a quick reminder what batch commenting is that instead of firing off multiple comments when you're doing a code review and you click submit and then that sends a notification, you can do them all in draft. You can have 5 comments. And you can click one button, and that will suck in those 5 comments and send them as one email notification. And for example, Sean has told me that he's actually already doing that, but then he's doing it manually as a workaround. He won't click submit until he's finished the entire code review, and then you click submit like 10 times. So that should be a welcome change. I know for a lot of developers, sometimes they look at code review and MR, and it says like, oh, refer to this previous comment that I made, or something like, oh, I didn't realize that you fixed it here. Please ignore my comment in the previous section, something like that. So just small little things that would already help with. Issue board milestone list is the next one in the plan area. So with the issue board, you can already have label lists and assigning lists. And last time we talked about why that's great. And so we're going to introduce yet another version of list called milestone list. And so essentially, issue boards, you'll be able to use them in 4 or 5 different ways. In particular, for milestone list, what's awesome is that now you can, in one single UI, have multiple issues and multiple different milestones all visualized on one page. And if you have a really big screen, you'll be able to see a bunch of issues. And so if you're planning in a particular, say you're looking at 11.2, 11.3, and you have too many issues there, or you don't want a particular issue in this current milestone because of a dependency reason, then you can easily drag it over to a future milestone, and you can see the consequences of that, whether it's an issue count or some weight and so on and so forth. So there's lots of uses for issue boards. We're adding yet an additional one in milestone lists. And the great thing with building on top of boards, you get all the existing functionality. So I'm not going to go through that here because there's a lot of that functionality. But do click through the issue and you can see that. Styling of comments and issues, MRs, and epics. So that's going to be a core feature, and that is something that we've designed out and just to refresh the look and feel of our increasingly busy comment thread and system notes and all that. So that will be applicable to issues, MRs, and epics. And the last one I wanted to talk about is tracking label change events. And that's really cool because right now when we add a label or remove a label from an issue, MR, or an epic, that's not actually stored explicitly in GitLab. We record a system note, but that's pretty much it. And now with this change, we'll store that change explicitly in the database. And what that frees us up to do is a variety of things. One of them is just making system notes more robust. You can internationalize them, so that's really awesome. But more importantly, we can actually do analytics properly in GitLab. We've been saying we can do analytics because we have the whole end-to-end experience in a single application, and that's totally true. And now we're making it really a priority because we can log all these events. So whether that's opening issues, closing issues, adding labels, milestones, and all these things, once they're all tracked as actual events in GitLab, then we can do amazing analytics, create all those features, and we have great plans there. So click through the issue to see what that entails. But we're going to start with labels first, and then move on to other attributes in the issue sidebar, MR sidebar. Fabio, you're up.
Thank you, Victor. Everything is amazing. It seems a very huge amount of things that product managers will want to use in the future. So looking forward to seeing and to using them all. Let's see what is new in CI/CD for 11.2. First of all, I want to talk about JUnit XML test summary in the merge request widget. This is a very important requested feature. It allows to show the failed tests that were failing during your pipeline. So at the moment, the only way to see them is to look at the job output and to check the standard output that will list the errors and stack traces in a very unpleasant way. With this new feature, you will have in the merge request widget the actionable list of all the failed tests. So you can just look at it and see what was wrong and try to figure out more details from the stack trace. We also want to show if there are tests that were fixed during the merge request itself. And so things that were failing in the master branch, but the current merge request is solving. This will be extended in the future. This is the very first iteration, but it's very important. It is something that will bring us to the next level in debugging and understanding what is wrong with our code. The next item is interactive web terminals for CI/CD jobs. Is deja vu? Probably yes, because it was already mentioned before, but we started working on it. We had a very good POC, and we figured out that it was not enough, so we want to spend more, and that's why it's scheduled for 11.2. This will allow people to debug CI/CD jobs directly in the very session that has been used by the tests themselves. So you can connect with a sort of web terminal, what you already have, for example, for your Kubernetes deployments, jump into the runner session and interact with the command line, see what is happening, see the output files that are still there, run interactive commands to understand what was wrong and how to fix them. And that's it for CI/CD 11.2. Let's talk now about security products. We have very interesting things for security products. First of all, we have the allow approvals and backlisting for license management. It means that when you have a new license, for example, GPL v3 or a MIT license in your code, you can define if you want to approve it or not. And so new people that will add new code will be already aware if the licenses they are introducing with their changes will break or will fulfill your requirements. So this is very useful. It's not just informative, but will allow people to action on their changes. We also want to show the license management reports at the pipeline level. For the moment, the reports are shown just at the merge request level with the diff. This is the first step and very important, but it's not enough. Consider the case where you want to know which are the licenses that your project, your application is using. You need it at the pipeline level for master, for example. Also, if some of the changes were merged without proper action taken, you can action them even later at the pipeline level. You can define, you can approve, you can decline some licenses from the list. As a stretch items, we also have the plan to support Groovy and JavaScript for SAST, so the static analysis. It is marked a stretch, and I want to clarify this to everyone, because we are relying on external tools to provide SAST functionalities. And so we need to evaluate if the tools are good enough, if they are fitting our standards, our quality standards, before including them, because we want to provide the best experience to our users. And that's it for security products. Daniel, what about configuration?
Thank you, Fabio. So in 11.2, we will continue to focus on the protected environments feature. We started work on this in 11.1, and we didn't quite make it all the way, unfortunately. So we will focus on shipping this in 11.2. So as part of supporting and making operators first-class citizens in GitLab, the protected environments feature will allow users to determine which environments are protected and who can deploy into those environments. More specifically, which role, user, or group. So this is a similar approach like the one used for protected branches, and should be familiar. So this is important as we want to provide maximum flexibility for all stages of the DevOps lifecycle. And we recognize the importance of protecting sensitive environments. And that is it for configuration. Jeremy, on to you for administration.
Cool. Thanks very much, Daniel. Really appreciate it. So I've got a few exciting things to share from the administration side. And the first thing I kind of want to talk about is sharing groups with groups. So first, I'm excited to talk about the fact we're adding against the ability for GitLab instances to take groups and share them within GitLab with other groups. For context here, if you're not familiar with how we use groups in GitLab, there are these intentionally flexible pieces in GitLab that kind of resemble directories and file trees. You can add projects, subgroups, and members in order to kind of help you organize and manage permissions on your instance. And currently, you're able to share individual projects with these groups, which is really helpful for organizations to kind of organize your team members and so forth, especially if you're using groups to kind of organize people. If you have some instances use groups to organize engineering into like front end, back end, and use those groups to kind of manage permissions. But what we can't do right now, and what we're adding in 11.2, is the ability to share a group with a group and allow that group to benefit from all the nested resources within that group you're sharing. So this will be pretty similar to how you share projects with groups currently. You'll specify a group to kind of share the group with a max access level, optional access expiration date, and all those nested resources will get shared with the specified group. And this should make permissions management really, really easy at scale and help instances with lots of projects and lots of groups who are currently using groups to kind of organize people. It's gonna be really, really helpful for those customers. We're also taking a step towards improving search. At 11.2, we're taking a really small but important step to how we kind of curate the user experience here for search by removing this project and this group scoping, making it part of the search dropdown, leaving and typing a query, and then cleaning up the user experience and also adding avatars to the dropdown results that get pre-populated when you start typing in the search bar. This is a really important step, small but important towards our vision to making eventually a spotlight type search tool. We really want search in GitLab to eventually be a single place, be super powerful, be really fast and performant. And this is really cleaning up the user experience with what we already have. It's kind of the first step towards this, and we're excited to keep iterating here. Thirdly, I think a couple of really smaller but awesome changes we're adding kind of a what's new and submit feedback links to the profile dropdown in GitLab. I think one of the great things about GitLab is our open model, and we can really improve the experience in how we push informations to users and how we allow users and give them the tools that they need in order for them to provide feedback without having to find our issue tracker manually. I think collaboration with one of our users is kind of one of our secret weapons, and I'm excited to kind of try to maximize the diversity and the frequency of user feedback that we get. So this is kind of a small but important first step to try to move that forward a bit. And lastly, but certainly not last, but not least, we have some great performance improvements in the works. We're looking to optimize a really important query in our group's API and also how we maintain our users table. So I'm excited to see some step forward there. That's all I've got from the administration side. James, really excited to talk create. What do you have?
Thanks, Jeremy. I can't wait to be able to share groups with groups. First up, I'd like to share with you about upcoming support for the Git protocol version 2. Earlier this May, the new Git protocol version 2 was announced, and it's a major update to Git's wire protocol. And the wire protocol is how Git clones, fetches, and pushes communicates between the client and the server. And so this is a pretty significant change. And the most significant part of the new protocol is how references are handled. Previously, every fetch would include the advertisement of every reference, which is like branches and tags. And even if you only wanted to fetch the latest changes to master, you would get potentially megabytes of references. So for large projects like the Chromium project and even more modest sized projects, you can potentially get like 10 megabytes of refs, even if you're just looking to get the latest 2 commits on master. So that can significantly slow down the experience of fetch operations using Git. And there's a range of other improvements which you can read about on various release posts about the new protocol. But last month, about 2 weeks ago, Git 2.18 was released, which is the first version of Git to support the new protocol. And we'll be rolling out support for the new protocol in 11.2. So if you upgrade to the latest version of Git today, as soon as we deploy 11.2, you'll start seeing faster fetches. So that'll be a very nice improvement for everyone. A huge and very exciting improvement to the Web IDE is about to land in 11.2, Web IDE client evaluation. So the Web IDE has been getting better and better at making changes, fixing code review feedback, but we're taking the Web IDE to the next level and really taking that step towards a cloud development environment rather than just a simple editor. We're using client evaluation of JavaScript. So there's probably a lot of great programmers who are listening to this call, a lot of them at GitLab, and I'm sure they're watching on YouTube, but mere mortals like me are not very good at writing code and having it work the first time. So being able to preview my change, test that it works, tweak it, fix it over and over again until I get it right is really useful. So using libraries built by Code Sandbox, we're going to be adding live previews of JavaScript. And I think the easiest way to demonstrate this is with a quick video. So I'll share my screen. And this video is linked in the release notes on YouTube as well. So at the moment, you can go to a project and open the Web IDE. And so coming in 11.2, there'll be a new button to launch live preview. At the moment, this is a proof of concept, super rough. You have to open each file to load it into the context of the browser. But as soon as each file is loaded, Code Sandbox kicks in and can live preview the application, which should happen in just a second. You can see the transpiling animation, and we can preview my to-do app. I can now load files, make changes, see those changes previewed in real time. So if you've ever used Code Sandbox, which is a great product, you're going to have a similar experience using GitLab. So that's going to be really exciting. So edits come through live, and it's just going to be wonderful. So very excited for that. Also in the Web IDE, if you've ever tried to delete or rename a file, unfortunately that feature doesn't exist yet, but it will in 11.2. So it's going to be really great for the kinds of edits where you need to rename a file, not just add a file or edit a file. So it's a really high priority quality of life improvement that is going to make my life a lot easier. And I hope it will make your life a lot easier too when you're using the Web IDE. And finally, the pull mirroring API. Pull mirroring is a really great feature. It allows you to keep a fork of a project up to date automatically. You configure it, and then every 5 minutes or so, or using the API, as soon as a change comes through, GitLab will pull the changes from the upstream repository and keep your fork or copy of that project up to date. And there are lots of customers that use this on a regular basis for a large number of projects. So adding an API is going to just be a significant quality of life improvement for them so that they can set this up en masse for a large number of projects, quickly rotate credentials and a range of other administrative tasks that occasionally need to be done for pull mirroring. So huge 11.2. Andreas, what have you got planned?
Thanks, James. These are awesome improvements. Really excited for the client-side live previews. I think that will be super powerful. So let's talk about share. So at GitLab, we constantly strive to improve the user experience within our application. So the 3 listed issues you can see there, it's just some cool highlights that I want to mention that we have planned for 11.2. So starting with our project overview, currently our project homepage is not very intuitive to use. it takes quite a lot of vertical space at the moment, and it's overall not very enjoyable to use as a whole. So with the upcoming 11.2 release, we really want to implement a first change here that improves the information architecture and the structure as a whole. And I think it just makes much more sense, as you can see. So please find the visual designs right in the issue. And we will definitely continue to iterate on that further. Second part, status messages. So some of us GitLabbers are currently kind of working around that. So for example, if you're on vacation and you know coming back that a lot of merge requests and code reviews were assigned to you, you learn that sometimes it makes sense to just show the information that you're currently out of office or on vacation. So we thought about why not just natively adding this feature right into GitLab. So you might know that idea from your favorite communication app. And the whole thing started originally after we came up with the idea as a community contribution, which is very cool. And we will finish it in 11.2. So you will be able to write in your user profiles preferences to add a status message and a status emoji. And that will always show not only on your user profile, but also in the discussion on issue on merge requests. So people actually know what they're currently up to. So very excited for that feature. The next one are project templates. So GitLab is shipping with built-in project templates since quite some time. But up until now, it wasn't possible to create your own custom templates, project templates. So this is something we are going to change starting with 11.2. So in the first step, we will allow administrators on any GitLab instance to select an arbitrary group that those projects will directly serve as project templates. So all public projects within that group that is selected, when you create a new project, will be available as project templates, or allowing you really to set up boilerplate code and whatever code you want to reuse, because you have those big project structures. So really excited for that feature as well. So let's move on to Geo. Besides the involvement in our migration to the Google platform migration, our Geo team is also working on very cool improvements to the Geo product itself. So two things I want to highlight quickly. The first one is our proxying using SSH. So in 10.8, we introduced the same functionality for the HTTP protocol. So this allows you on Git push and Git fetch operations to not having to care that you're currently on a Geo secondary instance. So these operations are just proxied towards the primary. So whenever you have to clone a project from your secondary, you really don't have to care about updating your remote URLs, which was previously necessary. So it's much easier to now to just find your closest secondary and you're just ready to go. And the second part is more about adding sync information to the user interface. So our Geo secondaries have quite a lot of information about projects and file status and failure information. And this data is already available via the API. But until now, we don't expose this information in the user interface at all. So what we're going to change, there will be a new page on the admin area below the Geo page that will show you exactly all those synchronization informations on all the projects that are using a Geo setup. So you will get information about the last sync, if there have been any problems and error messages, retries and syncs, and also when the next synchronization is upcoming. So really cool improvements we have in the Geo area of things. So that's it for Geo. I think, Josh, you're up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andreas. Some super exciting things there in the Geo side. We also have some exciting features coming here for monitoring as well. We've got a whole bunch of UX improvements that we're working through in this release to make things look nicer, cleaner, and able to present information better in the interfaces. We're also working to, on the same lines, enhance and also ship our alerting features here. So we just didn't quite finish shipping the SLI alerts here in the last release. We had one bit of review feedback that came up on an edge case that we wanted to make sure we handled. So that's getting done here in the first few days of this release. And then we'll work to also do some improvements here to show the alerts themselves on the dashboard. Some exciting features here for monitoring. And then on the distribution side as well, we're going to continue to build upon our release of the beta of our cloud native GitLab chart last month, and we're going to continue to progress towards general availability. And so we're kind of currently targeting that to 11.2, not in the past, and executing that. And so we have a lot of work going into those issues, of which you can see linked in that kind of issue search there for our release label in our GitLab project. Again, so kind of polish, rounding out some features, and making sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's as we proceed towards GA here. That's what we have coming for distribution. This is certainly a really exciting release, I think, for all of our features. We have some great things coming in our core release. We have Git v2, some amazing updates to our web IDE, run our terminal sessions. Premium also getting some great enhancements as well, with some geo enhancements of the proxying that Andrew just went through. That's super exciting. Project templates as well, and of course with ultimate things like alerting and license management. It really is a super exciting release, building atop the already pretty good release of 11.0 to really make sure this is the best release ever. And again, thanks you all for attending our update here. I don't see any questions that haven't been answered in our YouTube chat, and so I think we can sign off for today and look forward to shipping and delivering you the best release ever of GitLab 11.1. Thanks, everyone.